You know you love an author when you are dedicating time to reread a book that is well over 1,000 pages long. A book that you read not even a year ago. But it's fine because it is one of my all-time favorite books and also one of my all-time favorite authors. And so today I am going to be rereading The Stand by Stephen King and vlogging it for you because a few months ago I made a promise that I was going to vlog my entire journey rereading Stephen King's works. Some of the books I'm going to be rereading and then some of the books they'll be read for the first time. Okay, his works in publication order. I do have a vlog number 1 out in which I read Carrie, Salem's Lot, and The Shining. I am missing Rage. I just don't have a copy of it. Eventually I will. I've been scorned a couple of times, okay, where I've bought copies of it and they either weren't sent to me or they sent me wrong things and had to fight for a refund. I don't want to talk about it. I've been scorned. Eventually I'll find a copy and it'll get into my hands and I'll read it for you. But until then, we are just going to continue on and I'm going to be rereading The Stand. So I'm excited to reread it and discuss it with you. It is going to be spoiler free though. I do love to talk about books though. I do love to talk about books. And I'm saying I like to talk about what's going on in the books. It's not going to be just me sitting here critiquing the book. But then if I have any more time, I am hoping to also read The End of the World as We Know It. This is an anthology that takes place in the same world that is The Stand, okay? Stephen King writes the introduction. So this isn't a Stephen King book. I did get an advanced listener's copy of it. So I was like, this is the perfect time to listen to that as I'm rereading this. And I thought I would include that in this vlog as well. I really prefer to read anthologies and short story collections in the physical form because I like to keep note of like my rating of each individual story. So I do plan on making a list of all the stories that are in this anthology. It is a thick book, okay? It is 800 pages long. I did find a Reddit article that does list out the titles and authors of all of the short stories in this anthology, and there's a lot of authors that I feel like both you and me are probably familiar with. We have authors like Caroline Kepnes, Wrath James White, Meg Gardner. We have Richard Chizmar, S.A. Cosby, Nat Cassidy, Ronald Malfi. There's just a ton of very popular, very well-loved authors, and I cannot wait to dive into that. We have a lot of reading to do this week. So, Beth, you better buckle your ass up. So I'm reading part 2 of the preface, and it's funny because Stephen King is talking about the story of Hansel and Gretel. You know how like everybody just knows the acceptable version of this story. In September, he's actually releasing Hansel and Gretel, like his version, I guess you would say. I don't know, I haven't read it yet obviously, but it's him and then the illustrator with Where the Wild Things Are. I'm really excited about that, but I just thought it was funny that he goes on to talk about the children's story Hansel and Gretel, and that's actually about to be released. His version, I guess you would say. So I have officially made it to the end. I have a paperback book of this. I think it's a mass market paperback. I might pull that out and read it instead of this big clunker, or actually have the audiobook. I don't know, I might flip-flop. So I made it to the end of chapter 1, which is only 13 pages in, but I did read the preface, which is a few more pages and not counted in the actual page number, which I think is fraud. I think we should be able to count those pages. The author's note and the preface you can read and not be spoiled. He does not spoil the book for you. He does though talk about why there is a cut and uncut version of The Stand. So if you're curious, essentially at the time of releasing this book, they only had a small amount of budget, right? The longer the book, the more pricier it is to produce. And so they were like, the book needs to be cut. So we can either do it or you can do it. And so King took it upon himself to go and cut the book and make it 400 pages shorter. So anyway, the book then gets published and becomes really popular. So later on down the line, a lot of his readers are begging him to release the, uncut version. And so that's what this book is. So there you have it. But then diving into the book, let's talk about it really quick. We have this soldier guy named Charlie, and Charlie works at this military base in which they have this weaponized flu-like virus, and it's held there, and there's like security in place and all this like protocol, whatever. Something happens this night and it gets out. Protocol is like breached or whatever, I don't know. Charlie panics. When he looks at the screen, he sees like the people in the labs and stuff. They're all like, you know, he's like, you know what? I'm leaving. Instead of reporting, he then decides to leave and go get his wife and his baby, and they pack up and they head east towards Texas. Human failure is what it was. But it was because he had this like sense of panic and this like split decision to like flee instead of report like he should have done. Which human failure is a really big topic in the book that is The Stand. So then there's this domino effect. Essentially, all the people that him, his wife, and his daughter come across get infected with this virus. Though Charlie, when he left the base, was feeling fine, he was in fact infected. Everybody that he and his wife and his daughter come across also get infected. And then everybody that they come across get infected. And this virus is so strong, in like a really short span of time, 99% of the human population is no longer with us. And that, my friends, is how this book opens up. Now we get to see the world get infected with said virus, and it can be very triggering, especially with what we recently went through 5-ish years ago. It can be very dark at times, just letting you know. So the overall themes really of the book, I would say, are good versus evil, human nature, leadership, and overall the choices that kind of define us in moments of crisis, I guess you would say. I 100% would say, actually, yeah, that. I officially transferred over to The Stand Junior. This book is so much smaller than the actual book. Like, it's mass market paperback, and it's crazy how they fit that ginormous book into this little thing. I don't know what it is, but the smell of a mass market paperback just hits different. I'm on chapter 7, 60 pages in, and today's assignment is to get to 200. So we got a lot of reading to do, and it is 4:30. I should have started a lot earlier during the day. We'll do that tomorrow. Maybe, if I'm good, I'll wake up and dedicate a couple of hours to reading or something. I don't know, we'll figure that out. But let's talk about the book really quick. So, though this is a post-apocalyptic book, it is like a slow crash type of post-apocalyptic book. And I say that because the book is set into 3 parts. Inside this one book, you have 3 books. So today we read the first half of book 1. Tomorrow I read the second half of book 1. And then Wednesday I will start book 2, so forth and so on. So the book 1 is essentially the spreading of this flu virus known as Captain Trips. It is also the fall of society. And when I tell you, it is a rapid situation. I want to say within a week or 2, it's just bye, hello, anybody home? After that, in book 2, kind of the setup of the moral / spiritual conflict situation that's going to go down later on. And then we have book 3, the moral battle, if you will, the conflict, the stand, as one would put it, the title of the book. And as I say this right now, the title actually, the cover actually makes sense. The cover actually makes sense. Even though I fear that this is an ugly cover, it kind of makes sense. Because if you look at it closely, this definitely could represent good and evil battling it out. Yeah? Slay. Okay. The uncut version is set in the year that is 1990. The cut version is not. The cut version, i.e. the very first version that was published, is set in the year 1980. So when Stephen King went back to revise this, to re-release it, he went ahead and altered it and made it a 1990 setting. I did Google this earlier as I was chit-chatting in the Discord. And he did that because he wanted new readers to not have to feel like they were stepping back in time. He wanted it to feel like they were reading something that was set in today's time, if that makes sense. So it is set in 1990. It's not a futuristic type post-apocalyptic story, which to me makes it even more terrifying. It would be even more terrifying if I were reading it in I couldn't read in 1990. I was a baby, but you get it. So So let's talk characters for a second, at least to the part where I'm at. Again, I am going into, was it chapter 7? Yes, chapter 7. We do meet a handful of people, but the main ones that are going to be throughout majority of the book, we have Franny. You meet her in chapter 2. She is a 21-year-old young woman who is pregnant. She just found out that she's pregnant and she is going through this dilemma of what to do. Does she keep it? Does she give it up for adoption? Does she tell her parents? Does she not tell her parents? Does she continue with college? Does she not continue with college? Remember, this is like day 1 of the spread of the virus. So most of the people on the planet have no idea what's going on. We do. She don't. Imagine being pregnant and the world ending. If the people die, who's going to be running all these power plants? Who's going to be cleaning all these water stations and stuff like that that give us clean water? Because let me tell you, it takes manpower. The doctors, the equipment, the factories are no longer going to make things. Imagine having to birth a baby during these times. That's a lot to unpack. And I'm glad I'm done having babies because whew. Anyway, so we have her, and right now she is essentially freaking the fuck out. She's pregnant. She doesn't know what she's gonna do. She doesn't love the father anymore. Like, they were in love for a little bit, kind of more of like a fling, and she doesn't really love him anymore. Her mother is a bitch, and she was terrified to tell her father because her and her father have a really close bond, and she even was like asking him if he still liked her now that she's pregnant. Thankfully he does, and he is probably one of the most level-headed people in her life. Then we also have Larry Underwood. Larry Underwood is a singer, an artist, I guess you would say. A week or so prior to all of this going down, he released a single, and that single became like a top hit on the radio. Everybody knows the song. He's fresh new on the scene. The song is everywhere, that kind of thing. So many people are all of a sudden wanting to be his friend. He gets this like a little advance money, and he rents a beach house and throws a party and buys drugs and winds up accidentally spending all of his money. So now he has to get into his car and go back home to New York to go live with his mother for a little bit. Man, as I'm talking to you about these people, I realize they've got some fucked up shit coming their way real soon. Real soon. It's dark. It's not funny. And then we have Stu. We haven't really got to know him enough just yet, but you do get to know him a lot further into the book. He is one of the first people that is known to be immune to the virus. He is very level-headed, very calm-natured. You just got to see a little bit of him, so we haven't really got into his story quite yet. Those are the 3 main people. We have seen a couple of other characters, but did I tell you that 99% of the population, you know what I mean? So don't get attached. I'm going to continue, but I am going to switch gears and I am going to re-download the audiobook. I do have it archived on Audible. So I'm going to do that and listen to the next few chapters while I work on this blanket that I am making. It's going to be a baby blanket. I try to do something different. It's not a pattern. I made it up by myself. So we'll see how it pans out. But this is what I'm gonna go ahead and work on. What's sad is this yarn, I'm using up my last bit of stash, I guess you would say, of Big Twist yarn, which was a Joann brand yarn. I did see that Michaels bought the formula from Joann for this yarn or something. I don't know if they went ahead and bought like the factory and the backstock and whatever, but I do hope when they make it, it stays Big Twist. The colors, the names stay the same, whatever, you know what I mean? I guess we gonna see about that. Y'all, it is 11 p.m. 11 p.m. and I made it like an hour ago. I made it to chapter 26 and then I had to like go wash my face and start the dishwasher and this, that, and the other. Get me a little dranky drink because I am parched and I am tired. But listen, I hit my mark in the book, so that's all that counts. The fact that it feels like it took me all day to read 200 pages, that is wild. But the thing is, with stories like this, I am a reader, I know there's a name for it, I don't know it off the top of my head, but I am the reader that I like to visualize the movie in my head. When you have a book like this that just has a lot going on, I tend to read it a little slower, even though I've already read it. It don't make no sense to me either, girl. I'll say I got sidetracked a lot today with TikTok, my kids, things. Anthology. I made some dinner tonight. It was like smothered hamburger steaks and mushroom gravy. It was delicious. Okay. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. So I really wish I would have vlogged this the first time that I read it, because I feel like I would have so many more check-ins with you and I would be shook a little bit more, but I've already read the story. I love the story. As I'm rereading it, I still love the story. It is 100% solidifying the fact that this is one of my all-time favorite books. Let me tell you what, if you've read this book before, let me tell you where we stopped at. The end of chapter 25, like the very last part of chapter 25, is the wedding dress scene. The wedding dress scene. If you know, you know. It's only downhill from here, in the sense that people just gonna be dropping like flies. They already started slowly, but they finna just pop, 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 pop. You know what I mean? 99% of the population gotta go. Each of these characters that we're following, they've gotta lose the people around them first before they travel to go find, you know. Okay, so we have Franny. We've talked about Franny. She's the pregnant girl. We've talked about Larry. He's the artist and he's in New York with his mom. We talked about Stu. We have since been introduced to the Dark Man, the walking dude, aka Randall Flagg. If you haven't read this yet and you're at this part, you don't really know the important part that he plays in the story, but he's an important part in this story. We've also met Lloyd, who is in jail right now for committing some crimes. I don't think anything has really hit the jail because he's talking to his lawyer and stuff, and they're scheming of a way to like get him out of this. But I remember the shit that he has to go through, because just imagine being in jail and then all of a sudden all the guards die. Everybody's dead except you. How the f you gonna get out of that jail cell? Well, just keep reading the book, okay? And then we also came across Nick. Nick is deaf. He's a drifter. He has a kind heart. He's like one of those really sweet characters in this book. First, he gets attacked by some people in the town. He gets picked up and brought to jail. Okay, after like he's seen the doctor and stuff, he gets brought to jail because they think that he's there for like no good reasons, and they come to find out he's actually not there for that, and he's just, you know, drifting his way through town. He's a good guy. Lo and behold, he finds himself playing sheriff of the town. People in the town start dropping like flies. I think that's it so far. We do have a few more characters that we're gonna meet along the way. We're just getting started though. We are just getting started. We are 200 pages in. I'm obsessed. And it's the fact that no matter whose perspective you're in, it's not boring. I don't know how to explain it. Stephen King is just that good when it comes to writing characters. Some of them are so fucked up you don't want to turn away. Some of them you feel for them. You don't want to turn away. Anyway, I'm having a good time. I'm really enjoying it. I also noticed a couple of things that I did not catch the first time that I read this, but I don't think they're things that you could have caught, really. You know, if you've read this or if you know anything about this book, dreams are a big thing. Dreams/visions are a big thing in this book. Okay, so this book is essentially like, you know, it's good versus evil. And these characters, they start having dreams that kind of lead them to either go meet, you know, the good people or the evil people. One of the characters is already having dreams, and it's Stu. And he had like a very vivid dream of a cornfield and whatever. To me, that just is like, it shows that Stu was meant to be the leader of, and he just has that quality in him that makes him a good leader. He's very calm. He's got his head on his shoulders. I think him getting the first dream makes a lot of sense, but I didn't catch that the first time I read it because I didn't realize that dreams played a big role in this until I got to the part where essentially we're being told that dreams are playing a big role. You know what I mean? I've never read the synopsis of this book the first time I read it, nor have I read it. I have never read the synopsis of this book. That's what I'm gonna go do. I'm gonna read a synopsis of this book and then I'm going my ass to bed because I'm hoping. Today I didn't wake up until like 9:30. I'll take that back. I woke up at like 6 a.m. and I was sitting here in my bed and I'm like, I literally have no plans today to go anywhere. So I went right back to sleep. I had to force myself to get up around 9:30 because I felt like when I went back to sleep, I like went into a deep sleep, and then it was just when I didn't want to get up. So maybe tomorrow morning I won't do that. I don't know, it depends on how fast I can fall asleep this evening. Have you ever just lied to someone right in their face? Because that's what I did last night to you. I had a feeling that there was a big chance that I was not gonna wake up early, but I still opened my big fat mouth. It is 8:50. I did wake up at 6. I got up, I pottied, and as I was walking to the coffee pot, I was like, nah. Nah. I'm going right the fuck back to bed. To be fair, I didn't actually go to sleep until about 1 o'clock in the morning. So I don't think I would have been properly able to function had I stayed up at 6. I don't think I would have been able to comprehend what I was reading had I stayed up at 6. I'm going to sit here for 2 hours. You hear me? And I'm not lying this time. 2 hours. No Facebook, no TikTok. No YouTube, because I feel like that was my downfall yesterday, as I wouldn't get off my damn phone. So that's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna sit here for 2 hours and just read. Let me add that I do have 2 kiddos right now at the kitchen bar playing kinetic sand. There's a 98% chance that I will have to get up and like go probably make another juice or something, but that's fine. It's the phone, okay, that is doing me dirty. I am on page 201. Chapter 26, and today's goal is to get to the end of book 1, which will put me at 382 would be the last page I would be reading. So I need to read all of this today. The words are little and kind of tight. So it is now 8:53. I'm just gonna round it up to 9, and then I gotta sneeze. Fun fact, I'm allergic to dogs. And my dog is right there. So every morning I battle with this until the Zyrtec, hang on, kicks in. One thing that I do appreciate about this book and what Stephen King did upon writing this book was giving us the chapters of non-main characters' perspectives. Those chapters give us a glimpse as to how fast this virus is truly spreading. It gives us a glimpse into the government and how fucked up it is, in the sense that like the president had the audacity to get on live television and talk about how this virus isn't killing anybody. It's just a cold. Have no fear. We're gonna have vaccines made shortly. Do not believe what you're hearing. It's just the cold. Like, people, you'll be healed in a week. Just give it time. Meanwhile, half the population's already, you know what I mean? He even dies in the middle of his speech. He starts coughing and then he dies. He doesn't even finish the sentence. But also, we get the perspective of like a news person that does a radio show. The entire time he's talking about this virus, there's army men with their, you know, at his head to make sure that he doesn't tell the truth. And then when he does decide to tell the truth, he, you know, as well. And then we get the perspective of other army people. We get the perspective of a college student. We get like all of these people, and it shows us exactly how quickly society is collapsing, how the government is liars, how the virus is quickly spreading, how terrifying it is out there outside of our main characters' little bubbles, which their little bubbles is also terrifying because every single one of these main characters is losing every single person around them. It's terrifying. Okay, we're coming to a stop. I'm gonna get up and go do life. It is 11:02. I did actually stop probably at like 10:58 or something like that. I am obsessed. Obsessed. The way that he writes is just so fantastic. Even when the story is slow and they're just doing simple things like opening the refrigerator to see what kind of foods there are to eat, you know, catching a mouse and hiding it in between the mattresses to save for a snack later. It's never boring enough that I'm like, okay, I'm taking a break. You know what I mean? Like, I'm about to take a break because I've been reading for 2 hours. And I have other things to do like laundry and dishes and whatever. But you know what I mean? I don't know what I mean. I mean, I know what I mean. Whatever. You know what I mean. We did get more Randall Flagg stuff, or the Dark Man, whatever you want to call him, the evil situation. Randall Flagg, he is in multiple Stephen King books. This is, in publication order, this is the first book Randall Flagg appears in. I feel like the backstory on him, or like the information that you get on him, is probably important because he is in other books. You know what I mean? From my understanding, I have not read the Dark Tower series, and I know that is a big part to where Randall Flagg's at. From my understanding, he can be human, and he also can be demon type thing, like a shapeshifter. He just represents evil at its purest form. And so even in some other books, though he is not mentioned by name, a lot of people suspect it to be Randall Flagg. Like, he is the evil in the Stephen King multiverse. And this is a really big book for him because there's a lot of him in this book. I really like the whole end of the world stuff. I think it's because it is an actual fear for me. Maybe it's just me, but like when you read a book that is an actual fear for you, it just takes it up a notch because you're actually kind of scared. You know what I mean? Or do you not know what I mean? I don't know. Book 1 is essentially, you know, the start of the end of the world. Society is crumbling. The government is losing control. And it's crazy and terrifying all in one. And then you have the journey, the unknown. You don't know what's out there. You don't know how many people are still alive. You have to learn to survive because the power grids have gone out. There's no more clean water because nobody's manning the wells. Like, different things like that. And when I say like there's no more clean water, my husband works in the water field, keeping it clean and state regulations and things like that. And if power goes out, they have to like up and leave and go. So imagine this, when the world goes to shit, none of us are going to know how to filter our own water, because that's going to be one of the things that we need to learn. Just in case. No, it's not. Actually, there is a movie that I watched a long time ago. Was it called Waterworld? Y'all remember that movie? Didn't they show us in that movie how to like filter water, because they had to get water from the ocean, and you can't drink water from the ocean because it'll make you go kind of crazy and hallucinate. Maybe I need to rewatch that movie and take notes. Okay, I'm gonna go and get my life together. If you thought I was getting dressed today, you'd be sadly mistaken, because it is storming outside and I'm not going anywhere. I'm not seeing anyone. I have no delivery scheduled. If somebody comes and knocks on my door to try to sell me some bug spray, guess what? Ain't answering it. We are staying home today in our jams, which if you've been here for a minute, you already know that's what I do. That's why I own like 10 of these little Joy Spin, Moo-Moos, whatever the brand is. They're the best brand. Walmart. It's like $6. You can't beat it. It has pockets. You're welcome. It is 2:13. Not that you care. My time. I am on page 334. I had to take a stop. I had to take a second and stop for a minute, because first off, I completely forgot about the character that is Trash Can. We are still being introduced to some new characters, and we are well over 300 pages into the book. But immediately when Trash Can entered the chat, some scenes just came flooding back to my brain, and I was like, oh yeah. If you have never really read a ton of Stephen King books, you probably do know, but I'm just gonna let you know, Stephen King is good with his characters, okay? So he is gonna make you feel for some characters that you wouldn't ever think you would have pity for or like feel empathy towards, but you do. One other thing that he's even better at is villainizing characters. He is good at making you get pissed off at characters, making you despise characters. He has some of the worst, disturbing, vile characters that I have ever read. It's the whole theme of this book is good versus evil. Evil, okay? Anyway, then as I was continue reading, guess who else entered the chat? Kojak. Beth, who is Kojak and why is he important? Kojak is a fucking dog. And then scenes started coming back to me and I'm like, oh, we've got that scene coming up. There's a particular scene in here that had me on the edge of my seat, almost falling over, edge of tears, we've made it to the end of book 1 in Stephen King's The Stand. Overall rating for book 1, 5 out of 5 stars. No notes. Stephen King's strengths really shine in book 1. You really get to see his character first storytelling, the way that you get to sit with these characters and be with these characters to the point where you start feeling for these characters and you feel like you know them and you're sad with them, you grieve with them. It just, his character work needs to be studied because it is immaculate, impeccable. He is that bitch, okay? The dialogue in this book feels very lived in, very distinct, even with your minor characters that are only around for a page or two before they, you know, it feels authentic. Every person is different and you can tell that they're different. None of it really blends in. I don't know how to explain it. You just have to read it to understand. Like I said earlier, this book, the main theme of this book is like good versus evil, right? And in book 1, though we don't really see that yet, King is like planting these little seeds along the way of dreams and omens, and subtle encounters hint at a larger battle brewing, and we know that we're gonna get there, and it is slowly falling into place. And in book 2 we definitely start seeing all the different good versus evil things coming to play. Obviously, I love the book. I've read it before. I rated it 5 stars before. It's one of my all-time favorite Stephen King books, and I'm reading it again, and I'm just, part of me feels like I'm not talking enough about the book and what's going on in the book. But one, I'm telling you, there are so many perspectives. I simply could not. I could not. There are perspectives. There would be a chapter that would have like 10 different perspectives in that chapter, but it'll be like every single person in that one chapter, they were immune to the virus, but they all wound up dead. And he shows us how they still didn't defeat this situation because of the stupid choices that they make. They wound up dead anyway. And like his humor and like he's just great. And they call him whatever. Anyway, I could just sit here and go on about it like he's my grandpa. I have read 100 pages of book 2, so I thought I would just pop in here really quick because I am also going to put the book down and pick up the audiobook so I can go and do some deep cleaning in my house, essentially my kids' room. Anytime I ever say deep cleaning, it's just my kids' room, because everywhere in my house, nothing, I mean, it's all pretty clean. It's the kids' room that you are literally it's a fight for your life at this point. I gotta go in there. It's summertime, they're home, and they play, baby. My kids be playing. They're in there building castles and roads and all kinds of stuff, and you can see it. To the point where I go in there at nighttime to go check on them and there's no place to walk. I'm like, how do I get to the bed to check on you without making a noise when there's toys everywhere? Anyway, so that's what I'm going to go do with the audiobook, but I wanted to check in with what I'm reading in book 2. Now, the people that are left are like, okay, the virus is probably gone now, or like close to gone, because everybody else that's left is immune. Let's go and see if there's anybody else out there. Like, I cannot be the only person still alive. And so a few of them already have a buddy, because like another neighbor in their town was still alive. But they slowly start seeing people as they're traveling across the states. Some people are coming from California, some are coming from New York, some are coming from Idaho, whatever, and they're all traveling, and they're going to 2 different locations. They're being called to 2 different locations. Some of them are being called to a place to meet Abagail, who is a 108-year-old woman. Right now I'm in chapter 45. It's a very long chapter. It is Abagail's chapter. We are going over her past, her background, what she did when she was growing up. We are going over her family, how she became to live, how she's living, how she believes that, you know how Noah, was told by God to build the ark, and people thought he was, but he built it anyway, and then look, bless. Then you have Abigail, and Abigail thinks that God told her to live how she's living. So she's not living on any, like, what would you even call it? Technology? I don't know. She's living how she lived back in a back day. Now, Abagail was born in the 1800s. She's 108. It is 1990 by my math. Let me check my math. Yeah, she was alive in the 1800s. So anyway, I didn't want to look like a fool. Anyway, like, she doesn't have a toilet, right? She has an outhouse, but I don't even think there's a toilet in the outhouse. I think she just, I don't know. I'm not there. But she does not have a toilet, because she even talks about how people constantly try to convince her to get a toilet, to get plumbing, to get running water, to get this, to get that. And she always had like this, you know, sense to like not do it. And she's fine. She's 108 years old. She's doing the damn thing. And now she's outlived 99% of the population, babe. You know what I'm saying? She feels like she was supposed to do this, because now, 1990, it is July 1990. So the virus got out in June, and it is now July. That's how quickly it went down. So anyway, so now, like, they have to live how she's living, because there is no electricity, there is no running water, none of that kind of stuff. And so she's like, yes, I feel like I was supposed to do this. This was how it was supposed to be. Also, I love the fact that she's 108 years old and she is up, walking around, walking to the next door neighbor. Her next door neighbor is not like my next door neighbor. If I were to breathe out my window, my neighbor could probably feel my breath in her house, because that's how close we are. Her neighbors are, she lives on a farm, and you know farms, they don't be, you know. So the fact that she can walk to the next farm at her age, I want that energy. I want to be here at 108 years old and see my great-great-grandbabies. We have been introduced to more characters now. So as like Larry and Nick and Franny and all of them are just making their way to where they need to go to either Abagail or to the other, you know, the dark place. They're meeting people, they're picking people up. Some of these people, well, makes you wonder. Makes you wonder how they escaped the virus, you know, because they barely hanging on. There's some interesting characters in this book, let me tell you. Let me tell you. And I could say, I can't fully sit here and be like, yeah, this person and describe each and every single one of these characters to you, because there's a lot. I think our main important ones as of right now are Stu, Franny, Nick, Larry. We have Tom, Abagail. There's a young boy. I want to say he's like 12. As of right now, he goes by the name of Joe, because he hasn't spoken, or he has spoken a few words, but not much. And so they had to kind of just name him for right now. And so his name is Joe. There's also a teacher. Her name slips, Nadine, or I don't know. Her name slips my mind right now, but there's a teacher. There's a freak, a woman who just thinks about nothing but sex. It's a wild bunch. Let me just tell you. Also, this book has been making me think a lot about life. And though there are more than 50 people alive, I want to say there's like 3,000 or 4,000 alive now. But still, that's not a lot considering that 99% of the population has been, you know. But anyway, it's been making me think, because what if something were to happen like this and there's only 50 people left, right? Even if it's just like in your town, 50 people left, and you have to learn how to survive. I don't think you could fully be by yourself, because you don't have electricity, you don't have running water, you're gonna run out of food, because there's not factories open producing more food. You're gonna run out of food. There's not access to a doctor, the internet, none of that kind of stuff. So you're gonna have to pick these people's brains and say, like, out of the 50 people, there's not now one doctor. So then you're gonna have to find somebody who's close to a source of being a doctor and kind of assign them to be the doctor. So my husband works in the water. I don't work, so I don't know what the fuck he does. I just know that he controls like how clean your water is. Okay? So like maybe if the world was ending and he was one of the survivors, he can be the person to like figure out how to get us some clean water. You know what I mean? Like you have to like sort. I crochet shit. I can be the person over here making the blankets and the socks and the scarves and things like that. I also bake from scratch. So maybe I could do that. But like to fully do it by yourself, I don't think you'd last very long. Unless you're just that bitch. You know what I mean? And then also, I seen this post on Facebook. Sorry if my kids are loud. They're playing. I seen this post on Facebook, and it was a bookshelf at the road by the trash can of encyclopedias. Back in my day, that shit was expensive as fuck. You're paying thousands of dollars for that. And now they're just throwing them away. Why? Because they got Google. What if something were to happen and wipes out the internet? You know what I mean? And we never have access to that again, because you don't know. You don't know. What if something were to happen? Y'all done got rid of all the damn encyclopedias. The fuck? What are we supposed to look for? How am I supposed to know what poison ivy looks like? I don't know. Girls got me thinking. But I'm gonna pull up the audiobook now so I can go get some ish done. There's an Easter egg that connects this book with The Shining. Somebody in this book has the shine. That's all I'm gonna say. But it makes a lot of stuff make sense. The one thing that I am going to fully appreciate is the fact that though there is a full cast of characters, King does a phenomenal job at giving them each their own individual voice. I think I talked about that earlier in the vlog. If I didn't, I'm just gonna throw it out right now. Much appreciation for that, okay? And remember when I said earlier, I was like, imagine if the world were to go to shit, there was only so many people left, you probably wouldn't be able to survive by your own, and I'm pretty sure some of y'all are watching it and being like, yes, I could. Yes, I could survive. Literally right after I said that, one of the characters gets appendicitis. So you're telling me, Mrs. or Mr. Yes, I could, if the world was ending and you were like, okay, I don't want to team up with anybody, I want to go and survive on my own. If you got appendicitis, ain't nobody there to help you, boo. You finna die. Anyway, that's why I was like, have you ever watched the movie Lost? I mean, not a movie, I'm sorry. It's a TV show, Lost. It's one of my all-time favorite TV shows, and I think it's why I crave like survival type stories. That, and then as a child in middle grade, what the hell? Like, I'm in a genre. In middle school, I had to read Hatchet, and I probably read it 10 times. I love the book. It's like a survival type book. I never continued the series because back then I didn't know what a series was. I was just reading shit for AR points. Imagine how many AR points we would, I mean, this is probably not allowed in school because of the content that's in here, because let me tell you, but imagine the AR points you would get from this page. Anyway, where was I going with all of this? Oh, the TV show Lost. I love it. It's amazing, scrumdiddlyumptious. But you know how, so they crash on an island and it's a group of people and they automatically have to like assign people, okay, you're going to be like the doctor type person, you're going to be like this type person, you're going to build the church, you're going to do this. You're like building up a new society, I guess you would say. And I feel like that would be the only true way to fully survive. I could not survive by myself. One, I am afraid of the dark. And if we have no electricity, I don't know how to start a fire. 2, that's for 2. For 3, how am I supposed to fight off animals? Well, I mean, most animals died from the flu. So, cats didn't, though. Apparently, cats... It would be a cat, too, out of all animals to survive and not die from this flu. Good morning. It is Thursday, and you guys, I have to really buckle down today and get shit done, because let me tell you what, it's Thursday. 1, I have to finish 2 books tomorrow. I have to finish The Stand if I stick with my like assignments. 2, I have to also finish Recursion. I'm not vlogging about Recursion in this vlog, so you're not gonna hear my thoughts and stuff on that, but I haven't started it yet, and it's Thursday and it has to be finished tomorrow so I can do another draw out of the Bookshelf Ultimatum jar for my short content. I haven't started it yet. So I'm like, oh fuck. I shouldn't have been twiddling my thumbs yesterday when I finished my reading assignment, because both Tuesday and Wednesday I finished quite early. And when I say early, I want to say like 4 or 5 o'clock. And then I didn't, it's them damn phones. Truly, I did nothing. We had company for a little bit, but other than that, I was on Pinterest a lot because I got a new hutch. New to me, it is like a vintage hutch. I'm just ready to like go thrifting to find things to put in it to make it look aesthetically pleasing for me. So I was on Pinterest, Pinteresting stuff up, and of course I was on TikTok. You know, the bane of my existence, but something I'm addicted to. It's fine. But I really gotta focus today because I need to get a lot of reading done. So what I'm gonna do, I've already read 1 chapter I read chapter 51 today. 1 chapter is a lot in the Stephen King world, okay? His chapters are not tiny. And it was a really deep chapter in the sense that they're discussing roles in the society and how they're gonna get a town meeting together and how they're gonna get electricity back going in their area. And there is a few people, so a lot of people have come now. I want to say it's like a couple of hundred at this point, and they estimate that by the end of November, so right now it's July or early August, they're estimating at the end of November, they'll have like a few thousand people. So they're like, we need to get some kind of rules in place, something so that people who join us know. And they're wanting to put Mother Abagail in charge. She is a 108-year-old lady. So there is a couple of characters. So one character is a retired judge, so he still has like all the knowledge of like the courtroom and laws and such, so he's gonna help out. And then there's also another character who graduated with, I want to say, like a political science degree, and so he is currently talking to Stu about how to run a meeting, and then like go over all the stuff to kind of figure out what kind of system they want to put in place with new laws and such before shit gets crazy. You just gotta read it. It's so good. And like all the symbolism and stuff, it's just brilliant, truly. So this is the hutch that he picked up yesterday. It's gonna be so cute with like a bunch of white and tan thrifted dishes and stuff. And I want to get some crock things to put up there to put old rolling pins in. It's going to be very Little House on the Prairie. Listen, these people, I am in the perspective right now. It's like a chapter talking about Harold and old girl. Which, by the way, I was looking up on IMDb to look and see who like played the cat. First off, I am Team Stu. I like Stu from the beginning, okay? From the first time I read the book, Stu and Franny were like I feel like anybody who reads the book kind of like latches onto their favorite or whatever. Anyway, so I was looking at IMDb because Kelsey from the Discord mentioned the actress Whoopi who plays Mother Abagail. So I was like, let me go see who the other people are. James Marsden plays Stu. Oh, I'm so excited about that. I will be watching. It's like a limited series. Girl, I don't know. I don't watch TV like that. But y'all want to know who plays the girl? Is her name Nadine? Y'all know who I'm talking about. The one who is saving herself for the devil, essentially. Y'all know who plays her? Amber Heard. So it's been like a week since I last spoke with you because I went on a little mini 4-day vacation situation and enjoyed myself. We had a fun time in the sun, at the beach, and at the pool and whatever. We're back and ready to get down to business with reading another book, the anthology called The End of the World as We Know It. Is that what it's called? You know, the anthology that takes place in the same world that is The Stand, which is the book that we just finished because I did finish it, and I need to update you on my thoughts on that before we dive into the anthology. So let's do that really quick. I will say this was a reread again for me. I don't remember anything that I said in all of the clips that I filmed prior to this, so if I repeat myself, I'm sorry. This was a reread for me. The first time I read this book, I gave it a 5-star. The second time I read this book, I gave it another 5-star. I will say, I haven't read all of Stephen King's work, but from what I've read, definitely it's got to be his best work. This book is so good. It is a masterpiece. Okay, it is that good. And I think I'm gonna do like a reread every year. So maybe I can get my book club to read it next year. I think this is one of those books that is so good to discuss with people because it's thick, but so much is going on. There's symbolism, there's everything. It's that good. I think I might con my book club co-host Katie into choosing this as a read next year for our Cereal and Milk book club. So if you're interested in that, you should go and follow the book club on Fable. It's free to join. So, The Stand. This is I don't have my copy. It's up on the shelf and I'm not getting up, girl. I'm tired. This is a very thick book. It is very character forward. It is an epic fantasy horror post-apocalyptic story by the ultimate storyteller, Stephen King. The psychological depth with these characters and just Stephen King's brain and how he was able to successfully put them together, weave them together, create this literal epic masterpiece. Obviously I can't create no epic masterpiece, but you know what I'm saying. Like, epic masterpiece is what this book is. It definitely does have a slow pacing, especially the first 2/3 of the book. It's pretty slow, and then they have like an epic showdown situation towards the end there. It's It's one to pick up, especially if you have tried another Stephen King book in the past and you do enjoy the way that he writes. You gotta read The Stand. And maybe if you don't enjoy really long chapters, you might not enjoy this. I don't know, like to me, having long chapters doesn't really affect my reading because I can stop in the middle of the chapter. I ain't afraid of that. Anyway, it's so good. We're gonna leave it at that. It's a masterpiece in my opinion. I love it. It's definitely gonna be a book that I'm going to be revisiting many a times in my life. So that's my review. Now, let's dive in to The End of the World as We Know It, the anthology that I'm going to be listening to today because I do have the advanced listener's copy from Libro FM. I truly wish I had the physical copy because typically when I read anthologies, I like to keep track of each short story and like give each short story a rating so I can like tell you which ones I love, which one I didn't like, whatever. And this book has 34 short stories in it. There's also an introduction, a forward, and an afterward. But 34 short stories by some iconic authors, okay? I'm talking Nat Cassidy, S.A. Cosby, Meg Gardner, Carolyn Kepnes. Like, there's Ronald Malfi, Wayne Brady. Yes, that Wayne Brady has written a story for this book and I cannot wait to read that. I do have over here on my computer, I wrote down in the notes app the titles of the short stories. So the book itself is cut into 4 parts. So we have part 1, which is titled Down with the Sickness. I'm assuming these are all stories that take place as the world is getting sick. So the first part has the most short stories and then we have part 2, The Long Walk, and I'm assuming this is the part where these stories take place when the characters are choosing which paths they want to take and kind of traveling across the states to get to where they need to get to. And then we have part 3, Life Was Such a Wheel. I think this might be, you know, shortly after the big battle. I don't know. And then part 4, and there's only 2 in part 4, and I've heard that part 4 are like the stories that just didn't fit in parts 1, 2, or 3, and you couldn't really stick them in parts 1, 2, or 3. Maybe because of spoilers or something. I don't know. But David J. Show, and then Nat Cassidy. Those are the 2 stories in part 4, and that's called Other Worlds Than These. But I'm gonna go get my headphones and we're going to work on a crochet blanket while I listen. So my AirPods died. I'm only in the middle of the 3rd short story in the anthology. My AirPods died. I think I need a new set. I feel like they just die so quickly now. I have a new iPhone, so even my plugged up earpod, you know, I don't know what they're called. The headphones that are like corded, they came with the phone a long time ago. I got a few pairs of those. I can't use them anymore because the little port on my phone is different now because I got the 16. And this is literally first world problems. While I wait for those to charge up so I can continue in my audiobook, I thought I'd show you the blanket that I'm working on. This is gonna be a gift for someone, and this isn't a pattern that I found. I was inspired by a picture that I saw. The picture didn't link to like a pattern or anything, and it's not exactly like this. So this it's striped. It's going to be a square. So right now I'm about halfway done. You get 4 rows of the granny stitch and then 2 rows of, these are half double crochets, and then go back to the granny stitch, and it's just repeat, and I alternate the colors. I really like how it's come out, and then I think I'm gonna put a scalloped border around it to make it even more girly because it is being gifted to a little baby girl. I didn't want to be like too baby, so that way if she's like a toddler and she still wants to use it, or even, I was never attached to like a blanket or anything growing up. My son's not, but my daughter is. She has to have her blankie no matter where she's at. If we're going to spend a night somewhere, she's got to bring her blankie with her. And let me tell you something, her blankie is a queen size blanket. It is like a thin fleece type throw, but it's like queen size. It's a big blanket. I wish I would have cut it in half and I could have saved half of it. That way if, you know, whatever, but I mentioned it one day and she was like, no. But it's like floral. So if she's like 17 years old still with this blankie, it's not like babyish. You know what I mean? So this, I feel like when this little girl grows up, It's not like babyish, even if she takes care of it. You know what I mean? And then she can have it. Hopefully she's a sentimental type and she will cherish this blanket. Okay. Let's talk about the 2 stories that I did finish. Where's my phone so I can read the titles to you? The first one is by Caroline Kepnes, and it is called Room 24. Ugh, it was pretty, I was like, okay, yes, this is horror. This is horror. I gave it 4 stars. I enjoy it. So far, it's my favorite story that I've read. I'm only like 2.5 in though. There's this cop, his name is Abel, and he gets a call to an apartment because they heard some screaming, and it was like he gets there and it's this woman, she's a baby, and she's like all beat up because apparently like her husband likes to beat up on her, and he immediately becomes obsessed with her, and it just, while the world around them is getting sick and dying from the trip, Captain Trip. Anyway, so I really enjoyed that one. It is horror though, so it's dark. Then the second one was by Wrath James White. I haven't read anything by this author, but I've heard that he's when I was big into reading like extreme horror, I heard his name brought up a lot. I haven't read anything by him, and his story is called The Trips. Essentially, you had like a mom and some kids. The daughter was like 8, and I think the son was teenage, and the son was getting dreams from Abagail. The mother was getting dreams from Flagg. Essentially, they was at war, the whole family, because they was not all on the same side. If you read The Stand, then you know, whatever. Anyway, I gave that one a 3 star. It was gonna be a 2 star, and in the very, very last part of that story, I was like, oh, we went there, huh? So I bumped it to a 3. The one that I'm currently on now is called Bright Light City by Meg Gardner, and it's taking place in Las Vegas. The person that we're following is a flight attendant. They were on a plane getting ready to take off, and I think like the pilot or somebody started dying in middle of takeoff, and so anyway they had to evacuate the plane, and now shit's going crazy. Once my headphones are charged, I'll continue on in that story. It is almost 4 p.m. Today has just kind of like, I keep getting sucked into TikTok. It's like a drug. Truly. I'm sorry. You're telling me. So this flight attendant, there was a little girl on the flight by herself, and this flight attendant took this little girl off the plane to like rescue her before the plane blew up. Anyway, they're in Las Vegas. They go to a hotel room and whatever, and she tries to call the little girl's dad, because the phone lines at this moment are still working. The little girl's mom put her on a plane to go to her dad's house, while the mom and the mom's new husband planned to fly to Mexico until the virus goes away. This deadly virus that is killing people, you decide to leave your daughter alone on an airplane while you and your new husband fly to Mexico. I hope they die. I am so tired. I feel jet lagged. We didn't even go on a plane to go to our little mini vacation. We just drove there because we went to Galveston Island, which is like 2 hours away from where I live. We drove there, stayed a few nights, and then drove back. But it's like ever since getting home, I feel so tired, and I just want to like go to sleep. I'm gonna have to go take out my contacts in a minute, because when I get tired, my eyes get really dry. Bless my husband, he's also bringing home dinner so I don't have to cook. He's bringing home some Chicken Express. I don't know if that's like an everywhere thing, or is it just a South thing? I don't know, but my favorite food group is chicken dinners, okay? I am a chicken girly. Chicken gumbo, chicken enchiladas, chicken tamales, chicken dumplings, chicken and rice, fried chicken, baked chicken, boiled chicken. I love chicken, but chicken tenders are my favorite, especially dipped into some white peppered gravy with some sweet tea on the side. Anyway, perks of having an Apple product is I can pull my list up on my phone, on my laptop, on my desktop, on my iPad, wherever. I can edit it on here and it'll, you know, update, whatever. What do they call it? The Apple ecosystem. There's a bunch of TikToks that I've been watching and like learning the different things that you can do with Apple, specifically the iPad. There's so many things that you can do. It's really cool. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. I finished one called Every Dog Has Its Day by Brian Smith. This one was just kind of like a middle of the road story. It wasn't like really dark or anything. And in this one, he's a teenager. He meets other teenagers that are still alive. He also meets a dog. It's like middle of the road. I gave it 3 stars. It wasn't like pointless, but it wasn't something that's gonna be like memorable. I am currently on the next one, which is called Lockdown by Bev Vincent. And this one, it takes place on a little island. It did talk about how the virus has spread to a few other countries, but on their island, nobody has it yet. I forgot the name of the island, and I don't have a physical copy to like flip back and look, but on their island nobody has it yet, and so they're going in lockdown to prevent anybody from coming to the island or anybody leaving the island, to keep the island safe from getting captain trips. A few of the people are starting to get dreams. I guess I didn't like realize when I was reading The Stand, but in here it says that only people who are immune to the virus get the dreams. Some people are getting the dreams. One of the characters got the dream, and they were talking to another character, and they were like, so-and-so in my dream told me not to let you come with me because you're not immune. You should stay on the island. Imagine. Also, like, imagine being a family, the only one immune to this virus being like a 2-year-old or a 3-year-old. What the hell? But I don't want to imagine that because that's kind of terrifying. I'm reading it pretty slow, I feel like. It's gonna be okay. It's gonna be okay. I'm gonna read some more this evening. I'm gonna go take out my contacts. And by the time I do that and wash my face and stuff, my husband should be here with dinner. And then I'll finish that story and we will continue on. I might stay up a little late this evening. And I just said I was so tired. We might have to reevaluate that. Well, I'll check back in with you and I'll let you know. I went to bed before my kids went to bed. My husband put the kids to bed because I was crashed out. I don't know. I feel like I have been out partying all week. I don't know what it is. I'm so exhausted. I'm hoping today we can like bounce back from it. I actually have an Alani Nu in the icebox that I'm gonna go get to kind of wake myself up today. I do have errands to run as well later in the day. Okay, if you did not know this, I decorate sugar cookies, like custom decorate, you know what I mean, like those kind of sugar cookies. I have an order this week for some baby shower themed sugar cookies, so I need to go get the ingredients today so I can make the dough tomorrow, because she ordered like a flavored dough, and so I like to make it a day ahead and then put it in the icebox like wrapped in cellophane so that the flavors can marinate in the dough. So we're gonna do that tomorrow. So anyway, you don't care. I did want to say that if you have not read The Stand, you're gonna want to read The Stand before you read this book, because it brings up some characters from The Stand that it doesn't explain much of anything in this book. These stories are literally just clips that are going on around the world, I guess you would say, during the same time as The Stand. Some of these stories are a little ambiguous. They talk about Flagg or they talk about Abagail, but they don't like go into detail as to why these characters are having dreams or what these dreams mean or whatever. You get all of that from The Stand, which I would assume somebody who hasn't read The Stand, this wouldn't be like a book that they would be fully interested in, but just in case, I just want to let you know. I mean, The Stand is a masterpiece in itself. I feel like it deserves to be read. I did finish Lockdown, which was the one that I was on in my last update. It's the one about the island and the people that are on the island, and they're trying to keep like other people from coming to the island or vice versa. Finished that one. I gave it a 4-star. I enjoyed that one. I kind of wish that one was like a full story. I really like survival type stories, which I think is also a reason why I love The Stand. So then I also read In a Pig's Eye by Joe R. Lansdale. I gave this one a 4-star rating. It is a guy who works at like this movie rental place, I'm assuming a Blockbuster, and he's coming across these customers and such and seeing like them come in sick or whatever, talking about like the last movie that they ever rented was this and da 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 da. Things start going crazy. He winds up finding himself in the woods, and while he's in the woods he sees another woman who's been like hiding out in the woods. And you want to know why she's hiding out? Because there's this group of men that are hunting her down. Mind you, this is where a lot of people are already dead. People are going berserk in the world. So these men are like hunting her down, and they told her they're gonna use a mattress. They're gonna use this mattress, and then once they're done with this mattress, they're going to eat her. It was an insane story, okay? Insane story. And I believe I gave that one also a 4-star. I am currently in the middle of Lenora by Jonathan Jans. I don't know what I'm gonna rate this one. I'll let you know in a little bit. How many have I fully read so far? I've only fully read 6. Yes, so I have like 28 left to read. We've got to get going. I also wanted to talk about the fact really quick that I have read a handful of like anthology, short stories, whatever. It's really hard for me to rate a short story a 5-star. It's just more of like a personal preference. I don't know how to explain it. The 4-star stories in here are really good, and like my only issues with them essentially are I wish there was more explanation, or I wish it would have like had an ending and it wasn't ambiguous. And like, I get it, they're not supposed to be full stories, I know that, so maybe me rating them is not that great of a thing because I'm just super picky. I don't know. So like even if there are no 5-star stories in this book, if there's a lot of stories that I was really interested in, the anthology could very well be a 5-star. If the anthology is put together well, edited well, that kind of stuff, it could very well be a 5-star anthology, even though there's maybe not any 5-star short stories. I don't know. I guess we'll see. It's really hard to explain, but I hope that made sense. I'm just not like a short story girly. We've made progress in the book. I found my first 5-star short story. I'll get to that in a second. I was in the middle of reading Lenora by Jonathan Jans. In the author's note at the beginning of the book, Stephen King mentioned that he could have went on with the story and continued to write and it would have been even thicker than what it is, but he didn't, because he would like to explore how the animals were doing and what happened to them during all of this and what happened overseas and what happened here and there, but it was already thicker than a snicker, you know what I mean? So he did it. And so he was glad to see other authors bring in animals in their stories. So in this particular one, it is about, it's really sad. A lot of these are really sad. A man, he's already lost his family from Captain Trips, and he stumbles across a dik-dik. I had no idea what a dik-dik was. I had to Google it. It is an animal, looks like this. It becomes his little pet for a little bit. I gave it 4 stars. It was rather sad, but it was a decent little story. Then I read The Hope Boat by Gabino Iglesias, and this one was also very, very sad. This lady's husband and her new baby pass away from Captain Trips, and she also has another friend there with her in her apartment. And right before her friend dies, her friend's like, hey, there's this boat that my mother got me a ticket, but I want you to take it because she's dying. And you go to this boat, they're only accepting people who are immune to the virus to go to a different place that for like survival and whatever. Anyway, it's really sad. I gave that one as well 4 stars. Then we get to my first 5-star. Okay, we get to the first 5-star, and this one is by C. Robert Cargill. I do want to look up and see what other works he has written because I really enjoyed this one. So in this one, there's 2 young guys. They are immune. They stumble across this man named Bill. You can tell that they're pretty good guys because they're dreaming of Abagail. And Bill, he's not dreaming of Abagail. I'll just put it that way. But they meet him and they become friends with him. And he is really obsessed with slashers. So he talks about like Michael Myers and Jason and like tropes and this, that, and the other. At first you're like, bruh, the world is literally on. Give it up. There's not even electricity. Who shows up to save the day? Okay, all that slasher talk comes to play. It's my favorite one so far. And it was called Wrong Fucking Place, Wrong Fucking Time. Then I read Prey Instinct by Haley Piper. This one was kind of weird. I wasn't a fan of most of it. It did like end pretty decently. It's about like this woman named Sylvia who, again, everybody's, you know, gone. Prior to Captain Trips entering the play, she was a birthday clown. Like that's what she did for a living. Now she still dresses up as this birthday clown. Well, her partner has passed away, and so she decides to like go and adventure out and like see what she can find or whatever. Before she gets caught in this thunderstorm, she meets this man, and the man's like warning her that they let it loose or whatever. So she goes into this gas station to like get some supplies. It's dark, there's no electricity, it's thunderstorming outside, and across the gas station she spots a woman in there, and this woman gives very much Harley Quinn vibes. Okay, she was in prison, she's out of the prison cell because like that's gone to shit, you know what I mean? And so Sylvia's like got her gun and all this, and she's like she's like, you stay over there, I'm gonna stay over here until the storm passes, then we can go our own separate ways. It was an interesting story. It wasn't my favorite, but because it took a while to like really care. The ending, it like kind of went from a 2 to a 3. So I gave that one a 3-star. And now I am currently listening to Grace by Tim Levin. But anyway, that's where I'm at in the story. We will continue later on, but there you go. Hey. Okay, I am much more awake today. I feel good. I feel good. One thing about Beth is she likes to be comfortable. She likes to be in her jams, and she likes to be in the comfort of her own home. She is the comfy queen, okay? Listen, so I'm back in my jams. It is getting dark outside though, so I haven't been popping on a lot lately because my husband and my children are all home, so it's just been hectic and kind of busy. But alas, you know how I said this book is cut into 4 parts. I'm not quite done with part 1. Part 1 is the longest part though. I'm not quite done with part 1, but I just need to come on here and talk about this story before I forget what I want to say. I mean, I have a lot to say. I can't say a lot. It would kind of spoil something that happens in The Stand. I digress. So a lot of these stories, they talk about the dreams, they talk about Mother Abagail, they talk about Randall Flagg, they talk about some of the towns that are mentioned in The Stand, but not, I don't think any other like side characters have been mentioned, or any other characters have been mentioned until now. Before I get to that story though, I did read Grace by Tim Levin. This one was so interesting because it takes place in, it doesn't quite say if it was like a space shuttle or a spaceship. I think it's like a space type thing that orbits the Earth is what they're in, because they are in space. They talk about being in space. They talk about having no gravity and whatever. And then they talk about how when they're over Florida, their satellite can reach such and such's phone. Then they talk about being over Europe or whatever. So it's like orbiting, and they were only supposed to be up in space for 4 days. It's been past 4 days because everybody down on Earth that's at like the control center is dead. So they're stuck in space, orbiting, and they're running out of food. It's the things like that that you don't think of when the world is going to shit. You don't think like, oh, did we leave somebody in space? Yeah, so there's some characters, and some of them are having dreams. One of them is more than having dreams. They're kind of hallucinating, and it gets a little cray-cray. And I really enjoyed it. And I was like, man, this makes me really want to read like a story that takes place in space where time is ticking and they have to be rescued. If you have any recs, let me know. So I gave that one a 4-star. Then I read Moving Day by Richard Chizmar. This one follows a guy named Tommy. There's not really like a plot, I guess you would say, in this one, because it's just Tommy living his life as people are dying around him, and then his close family starts dying to the point where he's left alone, and he's like, you know what, I guess I can go on and go where these dreams are telling me to go to. But other than that, this other thing is going on. In the sense that while he's outside hanging out at like a water tower or something, he looks across the road and he sees a guy and a woman on a motorcycle, and they pitch a tent. But it's not, that doesn't mention names or nothing like that, but he just sees them. Like, it didn't, I wasn't like, oh, that's that person or whatever, you know, because none of the other stories in this book so far have had any other characters from The Stand mentioned. It's the next day. It's July 4th. It's right before he decides to just pack up and move because his mom just passed away. People passing away is not a spoiler. Like 99% of the human population dies, okay? He's outside, and the guy gets out of the tent, butt-ass naked, and starts singing a song. Do you know what scene I'm talking about from The Stand? It's that scene, but from a different perspective, because he even goes back in the tent, comes back out, throws up, puts his clothes back on, it's the scene from The Stand, but just told in a different an outsider's perspective, known as Tommy. Even though like there was nothing too crazy about the story, because some of these stories in this book could be full-length novels and I'd read them. Like, they're good. There was nothing really going on in this except the fact that we got to see 2 characters from The Stand, and I was like, this is such a fucking treat. Thank you so much, Richard Chizmar. I just finished that. I gave it 4 stars. If it would have had a little extra oomph to it, to the actual story with Tommy, maybe I would have given it a 5-star, but I gave it a 4. So let's see. I have 5 more short stories in the part 1, and then once we're done with that, we go into part 2, The Long Walk. There's not as many short stories in that. This is a long this is a long book. It was like a 28-hour audiobook, which is why it's taken me so long to get through it. Because, especially because my husband's home, and when my husband's home, you know, like, I don't want to just be plugged up with an audiobook the entire day. So I'll tell you this much. I listen to audiobooks at 1.5 speed. Listening to it at 1.5 speed, I still have 11 and a half hours. I am hoping I can finish and not be like yesterday and go get in bed. I'm hoping I can finish part 1 today. Anyway, while I cool down for my little cardio session today, I thought I would talk to you about the book because I did in fact stay up late last night and finish part 1. I also read a couple of stories into part 2 because I was up making cookie dough. I was going to do that today, but I decided to do it last night so that I can bake today. Just get a little ahead of the times, okay? I did 3 batches of cookie dough. 2 batches are blueberry lemonade. They're for an order for baby shower cookies. And then 1 batch is just regular, my like signature vanilla sugar cookie for my husband's coworkers to snack on. So where we left off at was with Richard Chizmar's story. If you remember, I think I gave that one a 4-star. Where's it at? Yes, I gave that one a 4-star. So then we read another one titled La Mala Horla by Alex Segura. I'm sorry if I butcher any names or words or anything. So this one was not a favorite. This might be my least favorite in the, I don't know. It was a story about a woman and her child escaping, essentially. First kind of escaping like a horrible husband, man, and then escaping, of course, the sickness. I gave it a 2-star. Then the next one was The African Painted Dog by Catriona Ward. This one was interesting, and I battled, sorry my glasses keep slipping, we're kind of sweaty here. I battled with giving this one a 2-star or a 3-star. So I'd probably give it like a 2.5 because the story itself was boring. Like there was really like no reason to have this. I don't know. But the reason why I kind of battled with it is because we were in the perspective of an actual dog. And it was so interesting to see like how a dog is going through this. And it's not even like a regular house dog. It's a dog that's in a zoo. I'm assuming a painted African dog is maybe an African painted dog. Is that like its breed? Hang on, let me Google. Yes, that is actually what they're called. Oh my goodness, look how cute their ears are. Can you see? Look at it. It's so cute. Anyway, so you're in the perspective of this dog. And at first, it's in the zoo. And it's so funny because it thinks its name is, oh, I wish I had the physical book. You know how easier it is to talk about books when you have the physical book so that you can look back and see stuff? Yeah. It said like its name was, look at these African dogs. Like that's what it thought that its name was because that's what the humans call it. But you know what I mean? Okay, like the look at thee, he thinks that is part of its name. Anyway, so the perspective of the dog was a really unique take in a story, and I enjoyed that, but the actual story itself, I was like, eh. So it's between a 2 and a 3. I have 2 stars written in my notes, but I'm probably gonna give it like a 2.5. Pushing it, you know what I'm saying? Let's move on. Oh goodness. Okay, so the next one is called Till Human Voices Wake Us and We Drown by Poppy Z. Bright. If any story in this book made me uncomfortable, it is that story, because let me tell you what, it's about a man who owns a mermaid. Apparently like his grandfather or somebody caught this mermaid many years ago. Many years ago, and they've just been holding it captive like in secret and stuff. And another man stumbles upon this man and his mermaid. Beans are flicked. Yeah. These men put their fingers on this mermaid's bean, and they all get off. It's getting a 2-star for me. I don't know. It was very uncomfy. So next, we have Kovach's Last Case by Michael Koryata. This one, Michael, if you're watching this, by chance, I need this an entire book. I want this to be a full-length novel, okay? So in this one, You're in the perspective of a man who he's either like a police chief or a sheriff or something, homicide detective. I don't know. He's a man of law, I guess you would say. I don't have the book to like look back and double check, but he is out and about, you know, everybody's essentially unalived at this point except for the people who are dreaming and are immune. And he stumbles across this butcher shop and he goes inside of it, you know, because like people are hunting for food and stuff right now. So he goes to this butcher shop and he notices that there are human beings hanging from hooks from the ceiling. Now, humans aren't just gonna walk in there and accidentally slip and hang themselves from a hook. Somebody's doing it. There is a serial killer on the loose in these times. In these times, there is a serial killer. So anyway, he goes out and he sees someone and he begins to follow this person. And at this time, like, jails aren't open, prisons aren't open. The world has gone to shit. You know, so like even if he were to, because he doesn't even have a job. Like he doesn't have a job. Like that was his job when the world shut down. So when he finds this like serial killer person, what you gonna do? Put me in jail? There ain't no jails. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, I just want it to be a full-length novel, and it's so interesting. I just need it to be a full book. I'm giving it a 3-star because I feel like it cut off way too soon. I feel like something else needed to go on, but also at the same time, I want to give it a 4-star because this was one of my favorite stories in the book. You know what I mean? I need this to be a full-length novel, Michael, if you're watching. The last one of the part 1 section of this book is called Make Your Own Way by Alma Katsu. This one is middle of the road. There's this woman and this man, and essentially, I say woman, she's probably more of like a teenager, really. She lives on a farm with animals and she has a horse and this, that, and the other. Her parents die and her brother dies, and so like she buries them in the yard. But then this man randomly comes across her house as he's like trekking his way to Las Vegas. He fools her into like falling in love with his ass. Then something happens and whatever. It was an okay story, but it was like the official story of somebody fully packing their shit up and making their way to where they need to go. And this is what segues us into part 2. And in part 2, so far the stories that I've read are people actually heading out. So I did read how many stories in part 2? Girl, I read 4. Okay, let's get into it. The first one I read was I Love the Dead by Josh Malerman. I was excited for this one because I enjoy Josh Malerman as an author. I will say I did try to read his short story collection once in like a Bookshelf Ultimatum video, I think. I wasn't a fan of his short stories. I do enjoy his longer stories though, and that is the same with this one. So this is about a man who finds a severed off finger, and he describes it as being like 3/4 of a finger, I believe, and he is convinced that this finger belongs to somebody like Jerry Garcia, I think is the name, and I remember that because Cherry Garcia, yeah, that's how you know I'm a big back. Jerry Garcia, okay, he is, I don't know if in real life, hang on. According to the internet, there's a band called the Jerry Garcia Band. But in this short story, the person, his actual name is Jerry Garcia, and he was a drummer in a band. What do you call it? His nickname, his stage name or whatever. Shout out to my husband for scaring the bejesus out of me. So Jerry Garcia was a drummer and his stage name was Captain Trips. And so this guy thinks that they did him dirty by calling Captain Trips when this guy, whatever. Anyway, so he's on his way to go find this drummer to return his finger. And on the way, he uses this finger as a guitar pick and all sorts of shit. It was an interesting short story. To say the least. I did give it, I think, a 3-star. So then after that, it was Milagros by Cynthia Paleo. This one was kind of sad because you're in the perspective of a little girl. Like the story opens up and the little girl's living in a school. She has a pet chicken. So what had happened was she was living with her parents and then her parents died and she stayed in the house for a little while and then she like made her way to the school, and I believe there was, at the time she got there was other kids there, and she thinks that the parents forgot about the kids or something. I'm assuming the parents must have died before being able to go pick up their kids from school. But then now in present day, everybody at the school is dead except for her, and it's essentially just about this little girl about to head out because she's getting these dreams to go meet somebody with her pet chicken. So I mean, I gave it a 3-star. It wasn't, looking back on it, maybe it could be a 2. It's kind of sad, but because like she was a little girl. Then next we have The Legion of Swine by S.A. Cosby. So this one is about an older man. He had a family. He had a wife, a son who was across the seas in a war, and then I believe he had like another daughter or something. Well, the flu done came through and took his whole family. He doesn't know about his son because his son's across the seas, and they don't have like phones or anything anymore because, you know, the world shut down. Essentially, it's him, and then he had a pig farm, so he has a bunch of pigs. And people are already like on their way to make it to places, remember? So this group of people show up to his farm, and they spend the night and stuff at first, and then they're like, okay, well, we're headed on out. How about you give us one of your pigs? And the man is not, you know, those are his pigs. The story was interesting though. It was going to be a 3-star, but the ending of the little short story definitely bumped it up to a 4. I don't know what it is when stuff is fucked up, you know, or like something happened, you know, it just like, yeah, I'm gonna bump it up a star. Unless it's like mermaids and bean flicking. That's a different story. Okay. Can you tell I'm traumatized by the story? Okay. Then the last one that I read before I went to sleep was Keep the Devil Down by Rio Euros. You know what, low-key kind of boring. I did give it a 3-star because I could see the potential, but it's essentially about a woman who was like a good woman in the sense like she didn't do crime. She was very, you know, she kept whatever. But then she met this man, and this man was a criminal, and this man would like rob stores, and I'm like, criminal, give me all your money, you know what I mean, that kind of criminal. Started turning her, and then she was starting whatever, and yeah, it was a decent story, but if it was a full-length novel, I probably wouldn't be interested in it. I did give it a 3-star though. That's where I'm at currently. I'm gonna go take a shower and stuff, and then I need to get ready to bake some cookies, which takes a minute because I don't like to crowd my pan, because I feel like if I crowd my pan with cookies, they don't cook evenly. And then also I don't like to put more than one pan in the oven at a time, because again, I don't know, I just want to make sure that the cookies cook evenly and whatever. But the thing is at my old house we had an electric oven, and that's where I began baking cookies and stuff, and so I knew that electric oven, and I knew the perfect timing for the cookies to come out right. We have a gas oven now, and she be really cooking. Okay, so I feel like it's gonna take me a minute. That's what we're gonna do today. Not me being almost done with this book and then second guessing this entire vlog. Like, do these people really want a play-by-play of every single short story in this book? Should I delete all this? So I just finished baking the cookies. I let them cool off and stuff. So we have the blueberry lemonade ones here, and then this is just my basic vanilla. Editing Beth here, I wanted to show you what I wound up doing. This is the cookies, and there's some back there as well. Now, I will be listening to an audiobook tomorrow while I'm decorating the cookies. However, I need it to be something else. I am fiending for something else. I have been reading depressing shit. I have been reading tomes for the past few weeks, in the sense that I read The Stand. Though it's a masterpiece, the content itself is kind of depressing. This anthology, everybody's dying, people are sick, people are getting killed. It's pretty, you know. And then I also read a good bit of Helter Skelter. That's true crime, babe. It opens up with the murders, and so that was a lot to take in. I just need a breath of fresh air. So we're finishing this anthology today. I don't care if I have to stay up till midnight. It's getting done. You hear me? First step in getting it done. This is also my hair. I washed it and then I put oil in it. So I'm not getting dressed today. You can kiss that idea goodbye. So I finished part 2. The next one to talk about was Across the Pond by The Castro. So this one takes place in England. Our main character, her name is Elizabeth, not to be confused with that Elizabeth. As far as she knows, she's the only one left. She's been going to museums and taking shit, and she's been doing all kinds of stuff because she's literally the only one there. And she's also very horny. She's having dreams of Randall Flagg, and she's like, I need to find Randall Flagg because I need to ride that donkey, if you know what I'm saying. Like, she is craving it. One day she finally stumbles across a guy. Okay, she's an older woman. I don't know, there's not an age, but she points out the fact that this guy's very young and he's 19. So I'm gonna assume she's like in her 30s like me, because I do feel like 19-year-olds are very young. And she sees him and she's like, you know. He's not into it. And so, but she thinks that since she stopped having dreams about Randall Flagg as soon as she met this guy, that Randall Flagg is gifting this guy to her to ride that donkey. So there's that. So I gave it 4 stars though, because it was funny, but like not funny. It's not funny, but it was like, I don't know how to explain, because of the content. It's not supposed to be funny. Let's move on, because I feel uncomfortable. The next one that I read was The Boatman by Tanana Reeve Dew. Is that how you say her name? She's a very, very popular horror author. I haven't read anything by her, but I will. There's a lot of authors that I have not read anything by that I just either enjoyed how they put the short stories together or enjoyed the way they wrote, things like that. I'm definitely going to be checking out more, and she's one of them. But this is a like co-authored short story with her and a guy named Stephen Barnes. Follows a young girl. I'm assuming she's like in her teens, and her name is Marie. She lives in the Florida Keys. She has this obsession with Michael Jackson. Mind you, this is set in 1990, so unless Captain Trips got him, he is still alive. She is obsessed with Michael Jackson, but Michael Jackson lives on the mainland. She lives in the Florida Keys. She doesn't know how to get to the mainland because everybody did. She comes across this guy. The reason why she wants to go to the mainland is because she wants to make sure that Michael is still alive, and if he is still alive, she wants to go and chill with him at the Neverland. Is it called Neverland? His house with the animals and such. Okay, so she comes across this guy who has a boat, and she's like, I got some stuff we can trade, and you can just like let me use your boat to get to the mainland. The guy doesn't know how to sail this boat. She don't know how to sail this boat. So they're both trying to figure out what to do. Pirates, you know, they're all around town. I enjoyed it, and I thought there were some bits that were kind of funny. I really enjoyed that one, and I gave it 4 stars. Then the next one is called The Story I Tell is the Story of Some of Us by Paul Tremblay. This one, it could be a whole book, okay? And let me tell you, I don't think Paul Tremblay is really an author for me. I have read Cabin at the End of the World, and I enjoyed it up to the end. And then I read, I don't remember the name of it. I'll pop it here. A short story collection by him. Though some of the stories were so good, they were all like, they didn't give enough to like fully love them. And it kind of pissed me off a little bit. So I was surprised that I really liked this book, this short story rather. You get it. It is written in second person, so she's like talking to you as she has you held captive in a basement, and she's telling you the story of another person. Maybe there's vampires, maybe not, I don't know. But I really enjoyed it. I personally love when stories are written like in second person. Is it kind of like You by Carolyn Kepnes, you know? Okay, up next we have, I don't know how to pronounce this, The Mosque at the End of the World by Usman T. Malik. This one was not for me. It takes place in Pakistan. So you're in the perspective of a guy, and I think he has a son with him, and then also there's like a colonel that is going around, being that now you know the world's going to shit, he's going around and he has like a whole bunch of women being held captive, essentially trying to start a war or something like that. And I'm just like, and this time when everybody's dying already, like, sir, are you okay? It's kind of long and kind of boring. I gave it 2 stars. Then I think the last one that I read was called Abagail's Gethsemane. I don't know what that is. I looked it up and I think it's a tree. This is by Wayne Brady and Maurice Broaddus. So this one essentially, it takes place in 1919. Now mind you, Captain Trips and The Stand take place in 1990. So this is going all the way back to 1919. It's essentially more of Abigail's life. In The Stand, Abagail runs off because she feels like she betrayed God. Like she runs off and does her own thing. She like fasts and all that in the woods. She did it before in 1919, and that's what we're essentially looking at. And this one wasn't my favorite. I feel like I would have preferred it to be us seeing what happened when she disappeared in the Stand when she disappeared. If we would have got that story instead of one from way back in the day. It gives us more insight to Abagail though. So I think this might be the segue into part 3. That is into part 2. And I gave that one a 3 star. I enjoyed it because I already knew Abagail. It didn't feel like I had to like learn new characters again, because each one of these short stories is like you're learning new characters all over again. So this one was Abagail. We already knew who she was and blah, 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 blah. So that was nice. And I was also excited to see like what Wayne Brady had to bring to the table when it comes to being an author. author. Now I'm gonna dive into part 3, which is titled Life Was Such a Wheel, and there are 6 short stories in that one, and then part 4 has 2 short stories, and then we're done. Now I got a package at the door. Hang on. Put my hair up because I'm already getting hot. I have some packages here though. So this first one is actually from St. Martin's Press. So I don't know what it is. It's not thick. So it's probably romance, because that's normally what I get. Yes, it is. We Met Like This by Cassie West. Can a swipe right turn into a swept away? I don't think I've read anything by this author, but it's a sparkling adult rom-com debut. I think she did like YA romance before, so I am interested in this. So thank you for that. And then I ordered, can you see my address? Cover that. I ordered some paper for my happy planner. It's like rainbowed paper, so I can just keep notes and put those in the planner to keep everything in one place. And then this last one is a book. I'm trying to collect or finish collecting some series that I started collecting. So I recently finished getting all of the Dungeon Crawler Carl books. So now I am working on getting the rest of A Song of Ice and Fire books. So we have book number 4, A Feast of Crows by George R.R. Martin, because I'm hoping to get to these this winter. I kind of want to do like a buddy read situation. Like I already have the book club, and we don't do series in the book club, we do standalones, but I kind of want to do like a series book club in which we each month pick a new book from a series and do it. You know what I mean? Let me know what you think. So I've just finished part 3 of this book. Let's talk about it. I'm so close to being done. I have 2 more short stories to read and we're done with this anthology. I'm definitely going to be buying it in physical form. Do think that when I reread The Stand again next year, I will probably reread this again next year. Let's just rewind a little bit. I'm gonna set this down because it's hot. So the very first section, you get to see characters see this Captain Trips, see other people get it and pass away, and see how it like demolishes society essentially. And then the second part, you kind of get to see them making their way to Nebraska or to Las Vegas or wherever from the dreams. And I thought the third part, we would get to see people arriving at the destinations, like people other than our main characters that we got in The Stand. So like side characters, you know what I mean? Like new characters, whatever. Anyway, you get it? But no. In the third part, these stories take place years later. I'm talking like 20, 30 years after Captain Trips. So we're getting to see how the world is getting on now. These 6 short stories that were in section 3, I'm not going to go too much into detail on them because they're all very similar. It's just us seeing how society has rebuilt itself, if it has, and how people are getting on. Some of them don't even have like, I don't even want to say they don't have a plot, but you know, okay. So there's 6 of them. The first one is He's a Righteous Man by Ronald Malfi. So this one was about a man. Well, I mean, you're not in the perspective of this man. You're in the perspective of a girl in her like newly built village, I think is what they call themselves. A man comes, and apparently before Captain Trips was even a thing, he wrote a book. And that book was essentially what happened with Captain Trips. So everybody thought that he could see the future, and he said that he had dreams and such before that told him to put this in a book. So that's what that one was. I really enjoyed it. I definitely enjoyed the writing. I'm definitely going to be checking out more from Ronald Malfi. I gave that one a 4-star. Then the next one is Awaiting Orders in Flagston by Sommer Cannon. And this one, the main thing that's going on is they find out that one of the people that's there never had dreams. So anybody who was immune to Captain Trips all had dreams, and it was either dreams of Abagail or dreams of Flagg. This one character did not have any dreams. People were very suspicious of her. I gave that one a 4-star. Then we had Grand Junction by Chuck Wendig. I kind of battled between a 3 and a 4. I wound up putting 4 in my notes. In this one, it's our main character was a character that was born after Captain Trips. So this took place 30 years later, and it is like a teenage boy who is a fantastic hunter. He can kill things with just one shot, one bullet. I really enjoyed that one. I gave it a 4-star. I mean, I kind of battled between a 3 and a 4, but in my notes, I gave it a 4. The next one is called Hunted to Extinction by Premi Muhammad. And so it's 20 some odd years after Captain Trips, but it's been 19 years since a baby has been born. At this point in time, there are no children. There's nobody under the age of like 21, 22, okay? Until one day they stumble upon a 7-year-old little girl. I did give it a 3-star. However, I think it would have been a really good story if it would have just went a little different of a direction. The next one is Came the Last Night of Sadness by Catherine M. Valente. Honestly, I don't even know. This one was such a weird one. It was just like, it was super long, and then it was just like 1 minute we're following this one girl who's like really smart and whatever, and she has this thing where she likes to go to houses where the people have died, digging in stuff, reading letters. Then also it would cut to like the perspective, we're in the perspective of like an antelope, cantaloupe cantaloupe is a fruit, and then it would like cut back to her, and then it would cut to talking about a whale. I gave it 2 stars. Then we had the last one is The Devil's Children by Sarah Langan. This one I gave a 3-star. It's like 3.5 star. There are people out there that are creating more chains of said virus and then forcing young people to be injected with said virus to see how it reacts. It's experiments is what it is. That is the 3rd section of this book. Now, the 4th section is 2 short stories, and it's called Other Worlds Than These. So are we getting like, I don't know, the son's perspective? We're about to see. So if you've read The Stand, there is a scene in that book where a character gets hurt, and in order for this character to get back to where the people are, he needs a car because he cannot walk. And this is after all the people who are not immune are already gone. This is towards the end of the book. And so he finally finds a car that works, and it is a Plymouth. And it even mentions in the book that the mileage is really high and that there is a keychain in the car with the initials SL. In Nat Cassidy's short story, our main character gets gifted a Plymouth with a lot of miles on it and a keychain that says SL that goes with said Plymouth from his dad back when the world was fine, as like a congratulations for being accepted into law school. And so like the SL is meant to say like super lawyer or whatever. And so in the Nat Cassidy story, you get to hear him talk about getting the car and then the car breaking down and he having to abandon it, and then he meets somebody else and he even tells that person it's not that reliable of a car, let's go find another car at a random parking lot. There's hardly anybody there now, so he can just go and find a random car and drive it if he needs to. And that's what he's doing. But I think it's so cool that in this story, we get to see why that random car was just left on top of the hill, that the other character was able to get in it and get it going so he can get to where he needed to get to. I wish a lot of these stories had some sort of, a lot of these stories did have, like, I feel like I'm hollering. I have my AirPods in. Sorry if I was hollering. A lot of these stories did have Larry Underwood's song mentioned in it. Either they were listening to it on the radio or it was stuck in their head or whatever. That was a little treat, but I wish a lot more of these stories had more of like a personal connection to The Stand. And the fact that Nat Cassidy did it with the car, I think it was really cool. Okay, I'm officially done. Look at me. I look like it's 10:30 at night. I look rough. It's okay. I mean, I've looked rough all day. It's okay. It's okay. Okay, so I finished the last 2 short stories. I'm not going to tell you what they're about because I feel like that's the reason why they're put at the very last, because they kind of stand on their own in a sense. Like, I feel like you need to just read them for yourself. The other one that's titled Walk on Gilded Splinters by David J. Schowell. I didn't really enjoy that one. The other one though, that's called The Unfortunate Convalescence of the Super Lawyer by Nat Cassidy. Best one in the book. Best one in the book. It was going somewhere and I thought I knew where it was going, and then it ended somewhere else and I was like, that's an even better ending. And there was an ending. So like, hello, thank you for that. It's really good. That's a good one. That's my favorite one in the entire anthology. So, In a Hole, I'm gonna give it a 4-star, the anthology in itself. There were a few stories that I didn't care for. There were a few stories that I really loved, but I feel like for the most part, most of the stories landed either a 4 or a 3. So I'm just gonna give it a 4. And if you do pick it up and you read it, I need you to come back to this video and let me know your thoughts on the mermaid story. And did you cringe? Did you, like, okay, I was gonna say, like, who would even come up with that? But I've read worse. I've read worse.